Hey, this is Dancing Rabbit, and welcome to another late weekend pagan perspective. Hope you guys had a wonderful summer solstice and enjoyed the super full moon a couple of nights ago. This week's topic, as the light of early summer fades out here in the backyard, this week's topic is trance work. Um, I draw, at least in this area of my life, of my pagan path, very much from the fairy tradition and the concept that we have three selves, three minds, three levels of consciousness. Now, I know we probably have more, or you could subdivide them or categorize them differently, but fairy tradition talks about a talking mind, which is that verbal, linear self that is chattering away in your head all the time, giving names to things and to stuff that happens. This is the level that we operate at most of the time, and it's probably a good thing. It's very useful in getting through everyday life. The next level up or down, depending on which way you want to conceptualize it, is the younger self. This is who we were at maybe 1, 2, possibly 3 years old before we had really acquired language, when our minds were processing our our environment, the sights, the sounds, the smells, tastes, the physical sensations directly, and we weren't putting words or terms to them. We were just experiencing. And then the third level is the deeper or higher self, which is the divine within us, or our connection to the divine, perhaps in the larger world. So, all of that structure being laid, groundwork being laid, uh, I would use the term trance or trance work to describe when we make a major shift in consciousness from our talking self to our younger self. And this can be done in a number of different ways. People that, again, try to categorize things talk about an active path and a passive path. Active being drumming, chanting, dancing, uh, where you almost have a sensory overload, which at some point causes a shift in consciousness. And this is the path that I usually take if I'm going to do some sort of light trance work. The other path, the passive path, would involve an empty mind meditation, possibly meditating on your heartbeat, or breath meditations, where you're occupying your conscious talking self mind with those sort of things and emptying it. And at some point there is a shift in consciousness. I tend to be a little too hyper most of the time to succeed at that. But anyway, the idea is that uh, when I want to do trance work, I usually do drumming and chanting. Uh, Outside at night around a fire is, to me, the perfect place to do that. It's much more fun, much easier to do than indoors. Uh, I can feel a definite shift, uh, a sort of euphoria, and to me, it's almost worth doing just for the cool feeling that you get. Now, what do you do once you have made that shift in consciousness? Well, it depends on what you need to do, or what you set out to do. Hopefully you're not just casting circle, doing ritual, shifting into a light trance just because it feels good, or just because it's cool, or it's a pagan thing and you're pagan and this is what pagans do, so you're doing it. That you do have a purpose. If you're going to do divination, really heavy duty divination, scrying, or if you're going to do a work of magic. If I'm going to do a rather heavy duty work of magic, which I haven't done in quite a while, I haven't really needed to, then a definite shift in consciousness is important to me, and it's very closely related once the consciousness shifts to raising power and directing it toward the goal, raising energy, if you want to call it energy, raising power. It's not necessary to raise power in a trance. Many times trance work is much calmer, much more feminine than something where you're going to raise a cone of power and then direct it outward. That's a rather masculine sort of approach to it. So it can be either, and it can be a mixture of the two. As far as the depth of the trance, I don't think that I have ever gone so deeply into trance work that I was not aware of my surroundings and couldn't have come back out if there was some real good reason to. It does kind of spoil the mood, but I have never completely, gone into what some people talk about, a trance where you're unaware of your surroundings. I think if you're going to do something like that, if that's your goal or that's something you're able to do, that you need to have some people with you who can kind of watch over you and make sure that everything is okay. And barring that you need to find a really safe location to do this in. I don't expect that there's anything psychologically or psychically horrible that could happen to you, but just mundane things could happen that you might be injured because you just weren't aware of it. I don't think that trance is something spooky or terribly otherworldly. I think it's very natural, and I think that we all probably go in and out of non-religious, non-spiritually related trances all the time. When you're very into a video game, or you're really into a book that you're reading, or you're watching a television show and you're really into it, somebody speaks to you and you don't even hear them for a moment. That's a slightly altered state. That's a light trance state. Now, the means and the purpose of it may be totally different, but it's the same kind of thing. It's an altered state of consciousness. And for me, paganism, and you might call it a sort of a shamanistic paganism, this idea of altering your state of consciousness, is very much what pagan ritual is all about. The purpose to get in touch with yourself, to get in touch with nature, to relax, to calm down, to get rid of stress, and to do magic. So, till next time, this is Dancing Rabbit, wishing you and yours a very wonderful summer. Bye-bye.